87.9.
Oh! Ateneo! Fight! Ateneo! Fight! Ready! 1, 2, fight! A! Fight T! Fight E! Fight S! Fight E! Fight O! Fight blue and white! The blue and white will go and fight! Fight sis! Boom ba! Boom ra 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 ra! Boom ra 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 ra! Boom ra 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 ra! Fight A! Fight T! Fight E! Fight S! Fight E! Fight O! Go! Go! Ateneo!
Huwag kang magulat kung sa darating na panahon ay ikaw din ang paratangan ng rebelde. Anti-Espanyol, anti-Iglesia. Ang importante, gawin mo ang tama.
3 martyrs facing bitter death, all in the name of equality, justice, and truth.
Don Pedro, di ba kayo natatakot?
Bakit ako matatakot magsabi ng totoo?
From the creators of the globally acclaimed biopic Ignacio de Loyola comes this epic retelling of the story that sparked a revolution. Will their story inflame the heart of an oppressed nation?
Sabihin mo sa akin, Padre, hindi ba talaga tayo minalas at sinumpang bayan?
Gong Pursa, directed by Pepe Diokno.
Buhay pa ba ang alab sa puso mo?
Brought to you by Jescom Films and MQuest Ventures in cooperation with CMB Film Services. Unofficial entry to the 2023 Metro Manila Film Festival premieres December 25 in cinemas nationwide.
Radyo Katipunan, 87.9 FM.
Baka naman pwede.
Baka naman pwede?
Baka naman pwede. Mga isyung napapanahon, ating pag-usapan. Baka naman pwede. Gamit ang mga pananaw mula sa iba't ibang kalinangan.
Baka naman pwede.
Mula sa Institute of Philippine Culture, kami inyong samahan, tayo'y maghuntahan. Dito lang sa Baka Naman Pwede. Tuwing Huwebes, alas 3 ng hapon, dito lang sa Radyo Katipunan, 87.9 FM.
Feeling blue? Ever thought of looking into the bright side of things? Let us help you out. Join our light, engaging, and inspiring conversations with our Chaplains on Air. Hosted by Father Junji Bargayo and Father Henry Ponce of the Society of Jesus. Chaplains on Air. The chaplains are now in. Here on Chaplains on Air. Thursdays at 6 p.m. only on Radyo Katipunan 87.9 FM.
Radyo Katipunan. News, insights, inspiration. Radyo Katipunan. Down from the hill and down to the world. Radyo Katipunan. The voice of the Blue Eagle.
Radyo, 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 Katipunan. Radyo Katipunan. Radyo Katipunan. Radyo, 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 Katipunan. Radyo, 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 Katipunan. Voice of the Blue Eagle, kami di mapipigil sa pagbabalitang tumpak at tama. Buhay at tenista, sa loob sa labas ng eskwela, ating ibibida lahat ng kwela. Radyo, 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 Katipunan. Radyo, 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 Katipunan. Radyo, radyo, Katipunan. Radyo, Katipunan. Kawal ni Ignacio, Katipunero, sugod, todo sa kayod, dunong at tulog. Lipat na Blue Eagle, galing giting nagigil. Blue and white, one big fight. Radyo, 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 Katipunan. Radyo, 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 Katipunan. Radyo, Katipunan. Radyo, Katipunan. Radyo, 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 Katipunan. Radyo, Katipunan.
RK Sports, where we take you right into the action with the highlights, insights, and analysis of the sports scene in, around, across, and beyond the Ateneo. With your hosts, Anthony Perez and Mookie Borja. Katipunan. Game on.
Alright, what is up, Blue Eagle Nation? How's everyone doing on this relatively quiet first day afternoon on campus? I know it's finals week, so good luck to all our seniors out there trying to make the grade. Mookie knows about this. So once again, this is Anthony bringing you another exciting edition of Radyo Katipunan Sports. We are live via Radyo Katipunan on Facebook, on YouTube, and 87.9 on your FM band. And joining me as always is Mookie B. Mookie.
Hi, sir. Good afternoon, Sir Anthony. Hi, guys.
Right. Good afternoon to you, Mookie. So, Mook, we'll start things off with some news around the Blue Eagles nest, no? Pero we just concluded kasi our multi-day sporting events like swimming previous week ago, and then when we had Ray over here for track and field.
Yes.
So the medal-rich events are done and over with. Although we had a significantly, big event just this past weekend. Actually, for all UAP schools, not just for Ateneo.
Yes.
It was the Season 86 UAP Cheer Dance Competition where, let's be real, Namok. Our Blue Bubble Battalion isn't really one of those, pegged to, place high in this competition.
We're an underdog during this competition.
But we still managed to clinch 532 points through a Super Bowl-inspired performance. So that's something to cheer for.
Yeah, sadly I wasn't able to catch this program, but then, this is pretty notable. The Super Bowl, I would want to watch that. I might have to watch the highlights of the CDC last weekend.
Right. But anyways, congrats again to our Blue Bubble Battalion for participating in that competition. And Mookie and I would also like to congratulate our champions, FEU, for their Super Mario-inspired performance, followed by runner-ups, National University and UST. So congrats to you guys. Thanks for, providing such a festive atmosphere to the UAP games.
Right.
Okay, switching over now to women's basketball, where, Mookie, we talked about this in our previous episode, about how Casey De La Rosa became the first Atenean in 16 years to win the MVP of the UAP Women's Basketball Tournament. But would also like here to give a big blue shout out to Junice Calago for placing in the Mythical Five.
So we have two players from Ateneo making the Mythical Five team available during, that finals weekend when sadly neither of the Ateneo teams participated in. But it's good to see representatives from the blue and white to, be one of the best 5 players during this season in basketball. So congrats to both of these players.
A recognition well-deserved for the both of them.
Very much so.
All right. Now, we get to, I think this is what our listeners have been waiting for, since we talked about the heartbreaking Final Four loss to UP last week.
Yes.
Mookie and I have been talking about this roller coaster of a UAP season for quite a few months now.
Yeah.
Diba? Quite a few weeks. But it feels like, there's so many things still left unsaid now after everything that's been done.
Yeah, this Ateneo season was unlike any other season, especially during this Tab Baldwin era. I think I can say that confidently. So I think, we have to take a look back and see really how this whole season, what it turned into.
Right. So again, guys, to all our listeners, Mookie and I will let it all out for you, on your behalf. We'll cover our best games, worst performances, who stood out, who could have done more, what lies ahead for the Blue Eagles. But first, Mookie, before we get to that, I hate to say it, but we have to congratulate and respectfully do so.
Yeah.
We respectfully congratulate our opponents from Taft Avenue.
Arch rivals.
Arch rivals for claiming the UAP Season 86 men's basketball trophy. Really, awesome accomplishment for Coach Topex.
Yeah, very proud of, very happy for Coach Topex, and just to say that LaSalle really won that game last night. They took it from UP. I think they played better than UP last night, so they earned this championship like the hard way, going to a game 3 with a lot on the line. So, and their best player, Kevin Kiamba, we talked about it a while ago before the show.
Played the big game.
He showed up
Yeah.
when his team needed him the most. So he deserved the finals MVP. We knew that he deserved the season MVP. And now with the championship, he has a treble
Yeah.
of trophies there in Taft. So congratulations to the Green Archers.
So, Mookie, we can't be too happy that De La Salle won.
Yeah, no.
But at least UP also did win.
Yeah, there's I'm not really feeling for UP right now. It's more of a, you guys lost that one. You lost that championship.
Yeah, but diba, we also talked about this last time, no? Na parang both teams just drubbed each other in the first 2 games.
Yeah,
Diba?
the first 2
30-point
games was like really anticlimactic. You would not expect those 2 games to be, especially in a finals game, with that much anticipation, and you wanted to see those 2 teams just go at it.
Yeah.
Much like last night. So, it was an entertaining series in the end. It was just a really rocky first 2 games, but the narrative was there. So, and performances were also there during those for all 3 games. So, yeah.
And just one last request from the both of us here. To our maintenance staff, please turn the color of Jesu back to blue.
Yeah.
I know we turned
Just for a night. Just for a night.
we turned it green last night, pero
That was
okay na
just
yun.
solid we did them now. Yeah. Back to normal.
Back to normal na tayo. All right, so now switching things over to our boys in blue. Okay, Mok, let's try to rewind from the very start now of UAP season 86. So if only for the 12th time in our UAP history, our Blue Eagles opened the UAP season 86 as defending champions.
Yes.
But I think that is where the similarity to last year's title winning squad ends. Because again, number one, expectations for this year were kind of misjudged. Diba? Parang it's easy to say, oh, you're the defending champ, so your job is to repeat.
Right.
It's not that simple to go back to back.
No, it really isn't. Especially with what happened, the composition of the team really changed. So, yeah.
Right. So, speaking of composition being changed, we lost a whole bunch of really, really important pieces on that championship squad, namely starting guard BJ Andrade, Dave Ildefonso, our guy in the middle, Ange Kwame, and also Fortsky Padregao, sadly, through some controversy off court. But for me, Mok, my takeaway from this was the Tab Baldwin system has always relied on a heady point guard to run the ship.
Very much so. Yeah, we were talking about that, after shows, just talking basketball about we're so spoiled in Ateneo with really, really competent point guards. To run, especially during Coach Tab's time with us, is that he just always had his own quarterback in a way that ran the offense, but also just anchored whatever the perimeter defense was of the team. And 3 straight very, very talented guards
Right.
now aren't there on the team anymore, and we have this new batch of unproven is the word I'll use, unproven guards in the UAAP. So it was really going into the season, that was one of the things where we looked at and said, okay, that's something missing that hasn't been present. That was present during these past few seasons.
Right. Because you always had, diba? You always had the floor generalship of a Matt Nieto.
Yeah.
Diba? You always had the steadying presence of a Tyler Teo.
Yes.
If you needed to kick things up a notch, you had SJ Belangel.
Yeah.
Diba? But this season, and this also contributed to Coach Tab in the earlier part of the year, he was trying to tinker with his rotation at the guard spot. Diba? It was either, diba, we said, okay, maybe Gab Gomez is a shoo-in. Hindi pala.
Yep.
Diba?
I would I expected Gab to be PG1 as we say to start the season because he was the one. He was there last season when they won. I think he has a grasp of how the game is played, how Coach Tab wants them to play. So I thought he was gonna get big minutes, but then, it's a surprise when, Ian Espinosa was first relied on, and then Jared Brown later on in the season. So yeah, our rotation at the guard suddenly, really, really just dwindled. We were losing reliable, not even just point guards necessarily, but just guards that can bring down the ball, that are steady with the ball, don't have much turnovers. So yeah, that was a realization early.
And from the guards, we go to the bigs, diba? Where the loss of one Ange Kwame can't just be, patched up with Joe Obasa coming in his one and done year.
Right.
Diba? To expect the same production and presence from Joe Obasa slotted in the same spot as an Ange Kwame is just you're asking too much.
You're asking too much. You're asking to follow up on MVP winner, and I think he won 3 championships during his stay. So you're asking for such a big role for a guy coming in who has been present for those Ange Kwame years, but not tested in the UAAP setting of how big men are supposed to play and how they match up against other big men. Because I think, let's just take Malik Youth, who's also an MVP winner. He's really difficult to play for a new import in the collegiate level, since Malik Youth has such a unorthodox way of playing, especially for a big man.
Yeah.
So, it was too much to ask for him to just dominate him like Malik Youth, as Ange Kwame can and most often would do.
Yeah.
So, it was really, despite having said all that, Joe Obasa did really well. He did the bare minimum of what you wanted from a big man like that this season. So, props to him for spending his one and done year pretty effectively for us. Effective, especially on defense, because that's the foundation of a big man nowadays. You just have to have good defense, protect the ring, and he did that.
Which is why in the first round, I think by the time we faced UP, we were neck and neck with them in offensive rebounding.
Yes.
We were around number 2 in the league in offensive rebounding, and much of that was due to the solid play of Joe Obasa.
Yes.
Diba? Although not in the same level as an Ange Kwame.
Level and impact as Ange. But, we did have a big man, who showed those flashes offensively and could continue that in the coming years, which is Mason Amos. Mason, this is his first year. He really showed his capability, shooting the basketball. He's pretty much automatic catch and shoot.
For sure. Steady from the free throw line.
Yeah, steady from the free throw line. Sometimes he's a little bit hesitant to shoot it, but I think that's just because it's his first year of playing.
Right.
He's still trying to get into the offense. But his stroke is pure, really. His jump shot is really nice to look at. A lot of the times it goes in. The one knock on him this season was his defense. I think his defense was pretty lackluster, especially when you needed a presence with Joe Obasa to just make up for Ange Kwame.
Yeah.
So, I think Mason lacked that. I think he's still very young. He's definitely gonna improve on that end. You don't stay with Coach Tab and not progress on defense as you stay with the team, because one of the foundations of Coach Tab's philosophy is defense.
Right.
That's how you win. That's how we won our championships these past few years. So, a steady defense could definitely help Mason Amos, stay in the rotation. Because I'm gonna segue again to another Ateneo big man, Kai Balungay, who, we just found out a few days ago that that was his last season. We need now someone who can do Kai's work offensively too. So hopefully Mason Amos can improve into that as well, evolve into more of a offensive threat and as well like just a presence defensively.
I think for the offense part of it, no, Mason Amos has the skill set to not totally replace Kai Balungay as the leading scorer because he was.
Yes.
He was.
Kai was the leading scorer this season.
He was this season, no? But at least you could see the foundation of what he can build upon to produce scoring-wise. Diba? He has a pretty good jump shot. He has an inside game to him. Pero the defense, Mook, good thing you brought that up. Kasi when we faced La Salle in that, remember, diba, we played Adamson for the Final Four ticket.
Mm-hmm.
And then we had to face La Salle the next day. That Saturday, kasi we played Adamson on a Wednesday, and I think we played La Salle on a Saturday or a Sunday. I'm not.
No, I think after the knockout game, it was UP.
Yeah. Ayun. Right. And then Mason Amos was matched up with Kevin Kembao in that game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And he was, for some stretches, he was getting blown by
Right.
Kevin Kembao.
And that's asking a lot because Kevin Kembao is the MVP. But, you have to... That's such a big game for us that you had to show up defensively because, this is the best player in the league. You have to show up defensively. You have to try and stop him, from beating your team, which they eventually did. But,
Right.
So, I think Mason's just still so young and so raw. I'm very excited to see him next season and what he's become. Hopefully, he improved a lot because I am hoping that he can just take in everything that Coach Tab, all the coaches, on that team just give him, and hopefully he just keeps it in mind, just keeps working on what he needs to improve on, and he'll come back next season. Hopefully, a little bit like Kevin Kembao. Like after the second season,
Right.
This is the second season. Hopefully, another MVP back here in Katipunan.
So we mentioned some key names, no, Mook, Mason Amos, Kai Balungay, and I think the game that brought out probably some of the best performances from these two guys was our first round matchup, October 4th versus La Salle, where we prevailed 77-72. Chris Kuhn, game high 19. Kai Balungay, 18 points, 16 rebounds. Mason Amos added 12. This was his coming out party.
This really was his coming out party. That fourth quarter is amazing. It was a lot of back and forth. La Salle was leading early to start the fourth, but then we were able to just go crazy defensively. The Blue Eagles were, and we were able to lock down, prevent La Salle from scoring, and then we went on a run where, Chris Kuhn, you said, had 19 points in that game. Chris Kuhn played really well because he was driving a lot, using the pick set by Mason Amos or Kai Balungay, and then once he got the attention, would dish to those two players, either on the roll or pop, because that's when Mason Amos shot a lot of threes in that fourth quarter. Really killed La Salle's momentum when they would try to keep up with us. That was really good for the Blue Eagles. And it was capped off, I think, by that Kai Balungay dunk off the pick and roll.
Oh, yeah.
I think that was one of the first highlights of the season
That
for
was
Ateneo.
nasty.
That was such a good play. In crunch time, really crucial play of that and crucial score. So that was a good win. Definitely like a strong win, one of our highlights of the season for us. So that showed what we are capable of when, Chris Kuhn plays to his capabilities. And this is what Mason Amos can give you when he's fully on and locked in. So we're going to need that next season to continue, hopefully get back to, yung kinasanayan natin, which is like the finals next season. So yeah.
And for me, I just wanted to add there, Mook, if we had a great output from them versus in that La Salle game, we followed that up with another impressive win in the first round. This was against UP. Our first matchup with UP, which was a great test of mental composure for the young team. We were up 10 in the fourth. The lead collapsed, diba? Because of shot making from CJ Cancino, the other UP guards. But we eventually won by 10 in overtime.
We played like men that game.
Yeah.
I remember we were talking about it after the fact. They really showed up to that game. we said at the start of the show this wasn't the same team as last season, but they got where how the gravity of that game and what it meant for the narrative of between UP and Ateneo. So it was really fun to watch them, go at it, because UP was undefeated until that game. They were riding on such a high that they thought they were gonna sweep the first round. They were gonna sweep the whole season. In fact, there were talks. So it was really good for Ateneo to shut them up for a bit, because they made their run. UP punched them back, but then in overtime, which could be frustrating for Ateneo, they didn't lose their heads. You're right. The word was used was composure. They really showed how they can be during closing time without all the turnovers, without all the tentative plays, when they pass too much.
Yeah.
It showed that they can deliver when it matters the most. So that was definitely an inspiring win also for us. Also in the first round.
Yeah.
So when you look at the other side of this, which are the losses, or like the ugly
Now this gets ugly. Look.
ugly losses this season, and we, unlike I think any other season in a long time, we had lots of ugly moments, ugly games. I think the two glaring ones are the two FEU games.
One was a buzzer beater loss.
One was about that was unbelievable how we lost that game.
Buzzer beater loss. Plus, for me, one of my worst games was the game versus Adamson, where we had a 20-point lead.
Yes.
And then we lost via buzzer beater.
Buzzer beater.
We had two.
We had two really, really heartbreaking losses at the buzzer this season. It's honestly unheard of, especially for a small sample size like the UAP with only, 8 teams. But you only have, since you're one of the 8, you only play 7 games. And it's very rare to happen. It's very rare to happen to us twice this season. But yeah, there was no excuse for those losses rather. They had a lead for both of those games and they lost it.
Right.
They completely fumbled it. That gave both of those Adamson and FEU chances to win it at the buzzer, because you don't go losing a game at the buzzer unless you put yourself in that situation. So really horrific, like terrifying losses, and that was our low point. But then we also had just our first game rather, against FEU, where we just came out flat and we never recovered for the whole game. That was the worst I've seen them play. They just had no sense of rhythm. They didn't look like they were ready to play FEU, a team that was competitive but really had no expectations this season. So when they beat us, it was really a wake up call for us. That saying like, we beat LaSalle very early in the season. We flexed our muscles then, but then we can lose to teams like Adamson and FEU. It's very hard for UP, LaSalle, even NU to take this team seriously as they did the Ateneo teams of previous seasons.
Right. We had those, really, embarrassing losses now. But for me, my lowest point of the season was that second round loss to NU when Reinhard Humamoy exploded for 20 plus. That gave us our first free game losing streak of the Tab Baldwin era. And then that shot us out of Final Four contention. And that at that point, Mook, I remember texting you, were like, wala na to. This season is shot. Diba? Parang wala.
It took a big hit. It took a big hit during that 3-game losing streak. I think that's when all of the collective expectation of this team just completely started to die down, and because it was pretty much getting very dim for their chances to advance, even to the Final Four to advance, because a 3-game losing streak, that moment in the season is pretty deadly for teams. But we bounced back as much as we needed to make the Final Four, which is good, which is promising.
Right.
Even so, this season is just full of glimpses of what can be. It's more of a in-between season of, like, I don't want to use the word, but rebuild. Because it's very hard to say rebuild when you're the 4th seed. That means there's a certain type of privilege saying that because
Right.
you still made the Final Four. This is a successful season for any of the teams. So, first to call it a rebuild is, very out there. But our expectation is to win almost every season with this caliber of coach and this caliber of system that he instills. So, hopefully, they can get back there sooner rather than later. So, yeah.
Right. So, you mentioned about rebuild, no, Mookie. So, after that heartbreaking Final Four loss to UP, no, which again, we were just happy. We
Happy
made
to
it,
be there. Happy
diba?
to be there.
We made it to that point after everything this season, no. But I'll read to you some quotes from Coach Tab's interview, and I want you to tell me your thoughts about it now. So, here's what Coach Tab said after that loss to UP last November 25. The record indicates that if you were a fly on the wall at all of our practices, you would see that firsthand. But I just got to say I'm really proud of the team, because this was a season of battles, not just on the court. It was a really weird season. We battled to be better all the time, to grow, to develop. We battled a lot of injuries. A lot of people will look at this season and they'll say, it's a season of failure. It's a season of indifference. But I choose to look at the glass being half full, and I'd like to think that this season is a bridge for us. And we've come out of an amazing era of Blue Eagle basketball. It's very difficult to continue that, just uninterrupted. So it's a bridge. The season is a bridge for us. Hopefully to better things.
Yeah, I mean, we all trust Coach Tab. I think what he said is accurate. That's how he saw the team this season, and he was with them every step of the way. If he sees it as a bridge, then that's super promising because, like he said, it's really hard. We have to at some point face the fact that that era of his system has kind of gone.
Mm-hmm.
This is a new type of system with really just a new types of players in Coach Tab's career with us because this season he really took advantage of us being, I think, a pretty competent 3-point threat as a team.
Yeah.
He said those in a lot of the interviews that he labeled this team as a 3-point shooting team, which was apparent during a lot of games when they would rely too much on the threes. But that was him experimenting because that was never really seen before during the dynasty era. But if he saw something in that he would like to bring in next season, that would be really good to see because then you would see how they all improved as a team. And I think a lot of the players on this team this season will be available next season. So this team showed promise this season. Right. A lot of people said it was a failure, which you can't blame them, but it's a step in the right direction. Yeah. You said it best. So yeah.
And I think here's my favorite quote from that interview with Coach Tab, no. And my main takeaway from this is for our guys, just don't let the hunger, the fire die out. Diba? It's never over.
It's never over. It's very honestly, it's if anything, it's really just the start again of something that he can tune into what he sees this program is capable of again. Yeah. With a different crop of players.
And here's what Coach Tab had to say about it. And we will be reminding one another in the months to come about the pain that we have so that the fire doesn't go out. And hopefully, it will be part of the process of giving us the motivation and giving us the drive to work our tails off to get back into what we believe, shouldn't be the place where we belong. And that's in the finals and ultimately winning championships. And I think, that's how to, take a positive step in the right direction, diba? After this season of challenges, Coach Tab summed it up best.
As long as the skipper, as long as the head coach, believes in the team, then I have nothing else to say other than I trust the team too.
All right. So, Mookie, before we end this segment, and end this deep dive into what was UAP season 86, what are you most looking forward to for the Blue Eagles come UAP season 87?
What I'm most looking forward to is I think the playing time of LeBron Nieto be way up. I think he should start next season as their point guard. Other than pedigree, which he definitely has, I think he showed flashes this season of a very talented ball handler. And honestly, just a brave kid. Because this, like Mason Amos, was a legit freshman.
Yeah.
So, he showed really big guts. He showed his guts last season that he can carry that offense. I believe so. So, I'm hoping that he can get more playing time next season and be in those moments where he can help Ateneo win.
Right. And, if LeBron Nieto gels with a much improved Mason Amos.
Right, yes. Chris Coon's going to be back.
Chris Coon.
Yeah.
And hopefully he heals right from his injury.
Yes, and hopefully with, his injury, he can get back to his best form. We saw, again, flashes. We saw plenty of glimpses of Chris Coon actually play really well this season and not be a distraction on offense with too many shots, forced shots. So, yeah, hopefully he can be healthy next season.
Yeah. And then, if the development furthers for Andrew Bongo, Rafi Celes, those guys.
Our wings, yes. Kyle Gamber. Too many of our recruits from the States are showing a lot of promise. So hopefully they can, weld well into that team of Filipinos too. And that the system can allow all of them to let their, style of play really show up positively.
And Mookie and I can't wait for our Blue Eagles to bounce back for UAP season
Definitely.
87. It's gonna be a long off season.
I'm gonna miss UAP basketball.
Yeah, but we'll be back there. We'll be back in the thick of things. All right, Ateneans, we'll just take a quick break. And next up, it's some NBA in-season semi-final
Vegas
preview. Vegas, baby. When we return, we'll be back in just a few.
Radyo Katipunan, 87.9 FM. Rejoice, refresh, renew, and reflect. Join us for an hour of music that uplifts the soul. Listen to your favorite Jesuit music ministry artists. This is JMM Radio. Get your day's dose of inspirational music. Tune in to JMM Radio every Wednesday, only here on Radyo Katipunan, 87.9 FM.
Oh, ready on the left, ready on the right. Range, Lasal, target, Lasal, ready, aim, fire. Boom, chicka boom, boom, chicka boom, boom, chicka boom, chicka boom, chicka boom, boom, chicka boom, ra ra ra, boom, chicka boom, six boom ba, boom, chicka boom, ra ra ra, boom, chicka boom, six boom ba. Boom, Ateneo, Ateneo, Ateneo.
Radyo, 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 Katipunan. Radyo, 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 Katipunan. Radyo, 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 Katipunan. Radyo, radyo, Katipunan. Radyo, radyo, Katipunan.
Palalimin ang kamalayan sa mga isyong napapanahon. Makisangkot at makiisa kasama ang simbahang lingkod ng bayan. Ang Socio-Political Apostolate ng Kapisanan ni Jesus. Ito ang Kwentuhang Bayan mula alas 11 ng umaga tuwing Biyernes dito lang sa Radyo Katipunan 87.9 FM. Dahil naniniwala kami na posible ang isang mas mabuting lipunan at maaari itong simulan sa isang kwentuhan.
Tara na't simulan ang inyong umaga sa mga magagandang refleksyon tungkol sa ating buhay at pananampalataya. Kasama sina Father J. Boy Gonzales at Father Nono Alfonso ng Kapisanan ni Jesus, Binibining Risa Singson Kaupeng ng Feast Magazine, Father Fiel Pareha mula sa Archdiocese ng San Fernando, Pampanga, at Cardinal Luis Antonio Tagle. Dito sa Kapit Pandasal sa Radyo Katipunan 87.9 FM.
The Jesuit Hour. Get to know the Jesuits. Discover their spirituality, their history, their ministries. The Jesuit Hour. Anything Jesuit, everything Jesuit. The Jesuit Hour.
Huwag kang magulat kung sa darating na panahon ay ikaw din ang paratangan ng rebelde. Anti-Espanyol, anti-Iglesia. Ang importante, gawin mo ang tama.
3 martyrs facing bitter death, all in the name of equality, justice, and truth.
Don Pedro, di ba kayo natatakot?
Bakit ako matatakot magsabi ng totoo?
From the creators of the globally acclaimed biopic Ignacio de Loyola comes this epic retelling of the story that sparked a revolution. Will their story inflame the heart of an oppressed nation?
Sabihin mo sa akin, Padre, hindi ba talaga tayo minalas at sinumpang bayan?
Gong Bursa, directed by Pepe Diokno.
Buhay pa ba ang alab sa puso mo?
Brought to you by Jescom Films and MQuest Ventures in cooperation with CMB Film Services. Unofficial entry to the 2023 Metro Manila Film Festival premieres December 25 in cinemas nationwide.
You're listening to the voice of the Blue Eagle. You know what it is. Blue Eagle. Radyo Katipunan, 87.9.
Alright, guys, we are back here live on Radyo Katipunan Sports. Anthony being joined by Mookie B. So earlier in our first half of our show, we covered basically what happened in UAAP Season 86, did a deep dive on the campaign of our Blue Eagles. But now, it's time for the spice up that we needed for the regulars.
It's been a while since we've talked about the NBA.
Yes, Mookie. Diba? So, we're getting playoff-like atmosphere early in the season. And Mookie, they said players wouldn't care. But wait, I beg to differ. I think there's lots of interesting storylines about the NBA's in-season tournament.
I love the NBA in-season tournament. I was skeptical about it, like most people at the start. But then, like, cup games, baby.
Yeah.
The added stakes to it. And we'll talk about the games these past few days, but just the atmosphere, the courts kind of just popping, and you don't mind anymore. Mm-hmm. It's honestly exhilarating, and the style of play, just like the quality of play, rather, is just so up there. It's only December, but it really feels like the teams are playing for something, which they are. But then it was just nice to see it really early in the season.
And diba parang the notion was NBA millionaires won't pay for $500,000. Translation, $500,000 is 5 followed by 5 more zeros. That's a whole lot of money.
That's a lot of money. Especially, we have really contenders in the Final Four who want to win it for, their teammates who don't have as big a contract as their stars, so they want to win it for them. It's really just, a team wanting to do things for each other, which is what you want in sports, in team sports.
So we've talked about the Final Four in college basketball, but it's time now to talk about Final Four in the NBA early in the season.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas indeed
from the NBA.
So we'll start off east, in the east side of things, Mookie, where we have the Indiana Pacers versus the Milwaukee Bucks. I like the Indiana Pacers.
The must-see Indiana Pacers.
The must-see NBA League Pass, stars Indiana Pacers. Mookie, to me, they're like the OKC of the East. They're in that
yes.
Class of upstart team on the rise, led by a top-tier talent in Tyrese Halliburton.
Tyrese Halliburton's one of my favorite players in the NBA to watch right now. I liked him coming out of Iowa State. I think plenty of teams that didn't take him earlier in the draft made a mistake, are paying the price this season. Mm-hmm. Seeing how he is just so good offensively. he is honestly also just one of the most exciting players because how he plays. I think he's on top there with John Morant, who sadly we haven't seen this season, but he's up there with just being a showman.
Mm-hmm.
The Indiana Pacers offense is highly, entertaining because of him.
Yeah.
He's their ringleader in that. And he's definitely their leader of the team because all of his teammates want to play better because he's such a gifted passer.
Yeah.
And you just want to always give him the ball because he'll give it back to you at the correct moment. So,
Right.
Very happy for the Pacers that they're in Vegas. They're playing for something this early in the season. Halliburton has talked about how important that is for such a young team. So it's one of the feel good stories of the year so far.
Definitely. And to get to the Final Four, they had this really stunning 122-112 victory over the Boston Celtics, where Tyrese recorded his first career triple-double of 26 points, 10 rebounds, 13 dimes, and just a late 4-point play to cap it all off. It's interesting, though. I think we've talked about this before, Mook, how Indiana's just breaking offensive ratings right now, no? So that's why, parang sabi ko, who's the first playmaker of this caliber who, just recalibrated everything in when it comes to running the offense? And parang sabi ko, I said to myself, Tyrese Halliburton kind of reminds me of Steve Nash and the Phoenix Suns.
He plays in a way more entertaining in my opinion than Steve Nash because his team is just so exciting to watch.
Yeah.
A lot, they play a similar role. Steve Nash liked to run during those 2 MVP years, and Tyrese running the floor is a lot of Showtime-esque plays where he just always makes the right pass. And he has so much young people around him too, where all of their play styles are all similar and they want the same thing, which is to run, score as many points, just outscore their opponents, and to beat a team like Boston. Granted, they didn't have Kristaps Porzingis, which a lot of people see as the key to that Boston.
He's
team.
the X factor there.
Yeah. Still, beating Jason Tatum, who's been in the highest of games, highest pressure of games, to beat Al Horford, Jaylen Brown, that Drew Holiday, who's an NBA champion, for Tyrese Halliburton to completely just eviscerate that team, that Boston team, during that 9-0 run, really just, show that they really deserved to be in Las Vegas playing for, money and of course just bragging rights because it's the first cup. NBA
Cup, yeah. And we talked about how Indiana has this high-octane running offense, which is very difficult to stop, no? And this, Mook, firsthand. You've played before. No matter how tight your defense is, when good offense is just rolling, that's just hard to stop. You can play it perfectly, diba? Be in the right position, play the angles right, but when the shots are falling, they're falling.
They've scored 150 points this season. They've scored plenty of 120 plus games. They're on pace right now to be the best offensive rating in the history of basketball. That's pretty insane to think as a team young as this, as youthful as this team. But that just shows how the game has changed and how, Rick Carlisle of all people, a proven champion coach, having almost like a new life with a young team like this. And it's exciting. Like they're going to be up against the Bucks, who have the highest expectations this season. A lot of people think they'll win it all. So it's going to be super interesting how they match up against Giannis and Dame.
So you have an electric offense versus a Milwaukee defense that is not the same from last year.
Nothing, because of the glaring omission of Drew Holiday on that roster. He got traded for Damian Lillard. That's the price you pay to get a talent like Dame. But quickly about the Bucks, they're just really as devastating on offense as Indiana, because you have a player who is lights out on 3 and just the surest thing in crunch time in Damian Lillard. And then you have the an unstoppable force like Giannis. Like one of the things I put here is on our Google Doc is who stops Giannis tomorrow on the Pacers, because I don't think anyone can stop Giannis in the league. So it's gonna be a fun thing to watch how Rick Carlisle and his coaching staff tries to stop Giannis from dominating this game as he easily could. I think he scored 50 points the last time he played Indiana. Granted, Indiana won that game.
Yeah.
But that's a very big problem with 50 points from Giannis. You have to try and stop him from doing that this time.
I think the key for Milwaukee is slow the game down to a halt. That is where, diba, you negate the speed advantage of Indiana. And number 2, attack them in the paint. Miles Turner is their only rim protector.
Yes.
Diba? And I'm not betting on Miles Turner to stop Giannis.
It's gonna take a team. It's gonna take the wall that Giannis wall that lots of teams use. It's gonna take just a lot of communication. But yeah, you're right. Miles Turner has to show up on defense. Obi Toppin has to show up on defense, and I think Buddy Hield a little bit has to show up on defense, because during those, Giannis is a very capable passer. You can definitely just pass it to whoever's open, given that 2 people are on him.
Yeah.
So hopefully, let's see how the Pacers match up against that. Because I'll say this: Adrian Griffin is still learning on the job as the Bucks head coach.
Oh, yeah.
So it's really gonna be up to the players tomorrow if they want to, stay in Vegas and try to win it all.
But this is just one game, Mookie. It's knockout, winner go
old
home.
Style. Really love this format.
Who are you picking in this?
I'm picking Giannis. I think
Okay.
Giannis, as much as I love the Pacers and the way they play, I think Giannis, everyone on the Bucks is locked in on winning this, because this is such an early barometer, but also for the players, they talked about it. It's really a lot of the times bragging rights in a way, because we're winning something. This is an accomplishment that's recognized by a lot of people, not because of what it means, because right now it doesn't mean a lot, but then just the entertainment aspect of it and the virality of it. It's being talked about a lot. The praise can never get this much higher. It's been getting like universal acclaim, and rightfully so, because the games, the knockout games, the first round of knockout games were really, a lot of them were really good regular season games with playoff-like atmosphere.
Right. But Mookie, sadly, I have to counter you on this. I'm going with the Pacers.
Okay.
This is just we'll see, huh? We'll see. But
I like this.
I'm going with the Pacers just because of the reason I mentioned a while ago. If you're hot, you're blazing. Diba? And these are the Indiana Pacers.
I can't count them out. They're a very fun team to watch, and I can't help not root for them. But then I just think Giannis.
All right. So Mookie and I will be waiting for the result of that game, diba? May the best bet win in this. But now we'll shift things over to the Western Conference, where, wow, New Orleans last year, by January they were the top seed.
They were one of the top
They
teams
were.
in the West, and one of the best teams in the league.
And then they just dropped off because, of course,
Injuries.
again. But this year, Zion's, dare I say it, healthier.
It's quite the opposite from last season. Yeah.
He's healthier. He's more engaged with his teammates. The knock on him was Zion's a
To
very
start the season, he wasn't really engaged.
he was aloof
He
from
was,
his teammates.
not focused enough. You could see it, but then he looks pretty bought in now. Brandon Ingram is also playing really well.
Yes.
During the stretch, and I think, unlike last season where they were losing players, this season they're adding players. CJ McCollum just came back. Trey Murphy just came back. Jose Alvarado just came back. So Herb Jones is still in the lineup. They're getting these guys back who are such vital, parts of their rotation, because that team is a complete team when healthy.
Yes.
That Zion and Brandon Ingram duo is lethal offensively. You saw it in the game against Sacramento. I think Ingram scored 27 points. He was really, really good. Picking his shots and also knowing when to defer to Zion. Because Zion's, just presence inside is enough, to win games. So when both of them are on, they're also like Indiana, generally young team that wants to, have an accomplishment like this NBA Cup thing, because it means a lot for young players to win something.
Right.
To have that, yung gana to keep playing. So it's very fun for them to be there. Finally live up to some expectation of winning something for this Pelicans team.
I'll make you a case to be discussed, Mook. We talked about Brandon Ingram, who, by the way, Zion Williamson didn't deliver versus the Sacramento Kings, but Brandon Ingram was
lights out.
He was there. He was doing an all-around performance. But I'll make you a case. Brandon Ingram he's an unheralded star, who for me he's in the same tier. Skill-wise, not notoriety-wise, not all-star. Skill-wise.
Skill-wise.
He's in the Jason Tatum category.
Bucket getter. He's definitely just a really good shooter. Jason Tatum, Brandon Ingram is. He has a lot of the, mid-range. He can hit you from the inside, outside.
Both for long wings.
The success, of course, is the main difference between those two players. But you're right. Jason Tatum is a great player, and Brandon Ingram is just a tier below that. But he can definitely show up like Jason Tatum can show up during big games. So, we get to see that against his former team, hopefully, during this matchup in Las Vegas.
Which brings us to the other end of this Final Four matchup. So we got the Los Angeles Lakers, who were able to escape the Phoenix Suns with a 106-103 victory to make the Final Four of the NBA in-season tournament. And dare I say it, please, at age 38, do not ever count out the King. King James poured in a vintage performance of 31 points, 11 rebounds, and 8 assists, followed by Anthony Davis with 27 and 15 and Austin Reeves with 20. But LeBron James, just down the stretch, unbelievable, Mookie.
I can't help but appreciate the greatness that I see every day from LeBron James whenever he plays for the Lakers. He is really he is the best player I've seen in my lifetime, at least. He is, the way he affects the game, the way his impact on the game is just seen. He won that game for the Lakers. I know Austin Reeves hit a huge three in that fourth quarter, but LeBron, during those stages of the game where either team could pull away, he really kept the Lakers in check with those threes and with the drives. He's about to turn 39 this December.
Yeah.
So people like to say he doesn't have it in him anymore, but he just keeps proving those people wrong because he is playing at an MVP level this season. Still at 38. But Anthony Davis, AD played really well yesterday. The first half of that Suns game, they were up big due to the fact that no one could stop Anthony Davis inside. And I think the Phoenix matchup for the Lakers is a good matchup because they don't have an answer for AD. So if you have AD playing to his all-star, all-time great capabilities and LeBron just being LeBron, you're going to win that game yesterday against the Suns. But it's going to be nice to see the complete 180 of these two teams, because I think the Pelicans are definitely the younger team than the Lakers. So they would want to run. They would like to, push the pace a bit. But I think the Lakers, LeBron is the ultimate tempo master.
Yeah.
He can control the pace. He is in control of the pace most of the time. So tomorrow will be a battle of those two instances, and hopefully, the best team wins and advances. My pick is the Lakers because I'm a Laker fan.
Okay.
I think
I'll take it.
The Lakers have Hachimura back. They have Vando back, and Jared Vanderbilt played really well yesterday against the Suns. So I think his impact is immediately felt since his return.
And I think I'd have to agree with you on this, Mookie. I'm taking the Lakers as well in this matchup versus the Pelicans. So, in the end, our finals for the NBA in-season tournament will be, for me at least, the upstart Indiana Pacers facing the veteran-laden Los Angeles Lakers. And it's a good contrast.
Right. I have the Bucks against the Lakers, and I think, again, as a biased Laker fan, I think the Lakers are going to win this NBA in-season tournament. Inaugural first.
Right. But this is what it needs. No? It needs to build up some storylines.
Right.
It needs to build
Yeah.
up tradition.
Yeah. It's the first one. You can definitely see all of that. The tradition aspect is, you can see it building, especially if the Lakers win. It's going to be a very big thing because just as a brand, the Lakers are so big globally. So I think it's going to matter for the NBA. It's going to be good for the NBA. But, I mean, any of these four teams I can see winning, and it would be exponentially important for their seasons as well. Like, a small team like Indiana wins, and they're immediately going to get definitely more nationally televised games.
Mm-hmm.
In the US at least. We have League Pass, we have other streaming platforms where you can watch these games for us. But for the typical, like, American who doesn't really know who Tyrese Halliburton is, it's such good exposure for them to play this level. Or just for people to see Zion again, because he is as box office as he can be, as box office as Tyrese, as LeBron. I think the Pelicans Laker matchup is gonna be just a battle of stars as well, because you definitely see plenty of stars on both teams. So it's just good publicity for the NBA right now. They should be really proud of this concept they thought about. Hopefully, it can be improved upon in the coming years. More stakes, more fun gimmicks. I don't mind the gimmicks. The courts can be a little bit adjusted.
It throws you off.
Yeah, I'm still not a fan of the colorful courts. But the Vegas thing is great.
Yes.
It definitely adds a great just aspect of entertainment and just the fun of an event like this, And it's so near Christmas too, because we have still a long way to go before games again actually will matter. Like, it will take another 4 months till the playoffs are there. So this NBA Cup is a good start to the season, just to keep not basketball nuts like us who are always, tutok sa basketball, but then just the casual fan to just be like, oh, this matters, this game matters,
Yeah.
then I'll check in again when, the playoffs start. But then it adds more viewership, and the NBA is really booming right now because of this in-season tournament.
And guys, our picks, diba? For the finals, and Mookie has his one set for all the way, but we'll see. No, NBA season tournament semifinals are gonna be tomorrow. Can't wait for the finals to come along, and we'll be breaking down that as well for you. And before we wrap up this episode of Radyo Katipunan Sports, Mookie and I would like to give a shout out to Mr. Ricardo Borja for tuning in.
Hi, Lolo. Thank you for tuning in.
For supporting his apo right here.
Thanks.
And Mookie, before we end, let's just give our big blue shout outs. My big blue shout out for this week goes to the outgoing Kainoa Balungay.
Yes, a big salute.
Big salute.
Big
Thank
salute
you
to
for
Kai.
representing the blue and white for 2 good years.
Yes, very productive 2 good years.
2 good years, and we wish you all the best in your
nothing but the best. Hope
pro career.
Yes, a very deserving farewell. He was a great player, and can't wait to see what he does next in the pro levels. He will do really good.
All right, and that does it for this episode of Radyo Katipunan Sports. Thank you so much to the hardworking production team behind the Voice of the Blue Eagle. Thank you to my co-anchor, Mookie B. And
Thank you
most
as
of
well.
all, thank you to our Blue Eagle Nation for tuning in and supporting Loyola Heights' #1 sports radio show. Guys, always, please don't hesitate to send in your comments, greetings, feedback. Mookie and I will get to you. And once again, this is Anthony saying goodbye, one big fight, and see you again soon, only here on Radyo Katipunan. Bye-bye!
Bye, see you next week.
Welcome to RK Sports, where we take you right into the action with the highlights, insights, and analysis of the sports scene in, around, across, and beyond the Ateneo. With your hosts, Anthony Perez and Mookie Borja. Katipunan. Game on.
You're listening to the voice of the Blue